moment. I'm so caught up in this. Yeah, we're just young, dumb, and broke, but we still got love to give while we're young, dumb, young.
What is up, guys? Angelo Ramos here, and today we're going to be looking at how to get that cinematic film look in Final Cut Pro 10 in just 5 easy steps. Doing these 5 things will just make your videos look so much more professional, visually appealing, and definitely keep you away from that amateur look, even if you're just getting started. But before we jump into the video, I just want to ask you guys to hit that like button below and subscribe if you haven't already. On this channel, we'll be posting camera gear reviews, filmmaking tutorials, Final Cut tutorials, and travel films. So if that sounds like something that'll interest you, definitely hit that subscribe button below. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is when you're setting up a project or creating a new project, make sure that your video is set to playback at 24 frames per second. The reason for this being is that 24 frames per second has been the industry standard for a while now. It's what most of the movies you watch are shown at, it's what a lot of your favorite YouTube videos are played at, and basically 24 frames just gives your video the most smooth and cinematic look that it can possibly get. The next thing we're going to add is really a keystone of the whole film look, and that's those black cinematic bars. The best part about this is that it's really easy to add. All you have to do is go into your effects, type in letterbox, then drag and drop the effect into your timeline. For things like this, it's definitely helpful to use what's called an adjustment layer. An adjustment layer basically lets you use an effect over the entire duration of your video, so you don't have to deal with the hassle of dragging and dropping or copying and pasting an effect over every single clip of your film. Adjustment layers are a great way to make your editing workflow so much more efficient, and you can download them for free pretty much anywhere on the internet. Once you have your letterbox dropped in, go into the inspector and make sure you select 2.35 to 1 for your aspect ratio. Another thing you're going to want to do is to color grade your footage. Color graded footage just looks so much more professional than raw footage or the color profiles that come with your camera, and it can really help make your colors pop and just up the overall production value of your video. If you're a beginner to color grading, I definitely recommend using LUTs. LUTs stands for lookup tables, and basically these are just color grading presets. To use LUTs, you'll need a plugin. I use MLUT. It's free to download on the internet and really easy to use. Once you've installed the plugin, drop the MLUT effect into your timeline and select Load a Custom LUT. I found all of these LUTs for free on the internet, but you can also purchase LUTs from your favorite videographers like Peter McKinnon, Taylor Cut Films, and guys like that. Once you've picked a LUT that suits your video and the style you're going for, you can mess around with the intensity a little bit. I like to keep mine around 70% so it's not oversaturated and stuff like that. One thing that you should always be doing, and is definitely a must-have for a smooth cinematic look, is stabilization in your clips. Now, unless you're shooting with an expensive gimbal or a Steadicam, chances are you're going to have some shake in your handheld footage. Fortunately, this is really easy to correct in Final Cut, as it has a built-in stabilizer tool. All you have to do is select a clip, go to the inspector, scroll down, and hit stabilization. I've already pre-stabilized this clip, so it's going to analyze it pretty fast, but usually it takes some time to analyze and correct any minimal shake you have in your footage. I like to keep this on automatic, so it selects the best type of stabilization for that clip. And just like that, you can add stabilization to your video and keep away from that handheld shake that's usually associated with amateur or even smartphone videography. The last thing I'm going to be talking about today isn't exactly necessary to use in your films, but it can definitely help give you a really cinematic look. What I'm talking about is using slow motion in your videos. If you have a camera that shoots in 60 frames per second or higher, you should definitely be taking advantage of that. Shoot all your B-roll in 60 frames per second. That way when you come into Final Cut, you have room to slow it down, probably to 40% so you can play it back at 24 frames per second. Good slow motion can be really helpful for beginner and amateur videographers, as it's one of those things that's associated with a really high production value. Expensive cameras, good editing software, and stuff like that. So if your camera has the capability to shoot in slow motion, and slow motion fits the story that you're trying to tell, definitely be using this as much as you can. So that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Remember those 5 things, and you can take your films from beginner to cinematic in just a matter of minutes. Also, this was my first tutorial, so I definitely appreciate any feedback or constructive criticism in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something from it, make sure to hit that like button below, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. See you guys next week.